Peace everyone, Unmask Art here, and today I'll be taking you through the process creating an ambient candlelight portrait using soft pastels and pastel pencils. But first, don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials just like this, and if you'd like to watch the full live tutorial version of this project, you can get that over on my Patreon page. This project and many more just like it are streamed every Tuesday and Thursday, so if you'd like to join in on the live tutorial sessions and have access to hundreds of projects just like it, I will have a link for that in the video description. Now, before I begin, let me tell you what supplies I used for this pastel painting. The paper I am working on is Clairefontaine Pastel Matte. Now, before anyone asks why I chose to use white for this project, it's just because I have to order this paper from the Netherlands to get it to Poland, so I only buy white. Otherwise, I'd recommend using any other dark shade that Pastel Matte comes in for this project. For the pastels, I am using Schmincke pastels and Carbothello pencils. I will have links to the exact sets I have in the description, though as I mentioned in other videos over the years of using soft pastels, the brands all work about the same. The Schmincke set can be rather expensive depending on where you get them, so don't feel obligated to use them. Truthfully, I'm still trying to find the brand I like the most. If you are looking for a good brand to get started, however, I do recommend the Faber-Castell. Alright, getting into the painting now. First, I use my line art and transfer it over to my pastel mat using graphite. The line art I make in Photoshop, and it is also available with the project on Patreon. After I have my line art drawn onto my paper, I use masking film to cover the subject. Then I begin with the background. Here is where I expected the questions about using white paper. Now for the background, it may appear as though I'm just making it all black. However, you'll see a few other colors that I'm laying down. When you're dealing with a black scene such as this, you want to consider the tones that will show through, even if just subtly. I chose to use some blue and red to create a uniquely cool and warm atmosphere to the background. These colors may not show up the best on camera, but in person they are visible and prevent the background from looking bland. Despite how easy this background may appear to you, it doesn't mean you should just haphazardly fill it in. The background is the foundation for the main subject and should be treated with the same level of patience and consideration. Once I have the background all filled in and I am satisfied with the color, I peel off the masking film and start with the hands holding the candle. This is when I switch to using the Carbothello pencils. I start with just 6 colors, 2 of which are black and white, so really kinda just 4 colors. When choosing my colors, I essentially start at the darkest and lightest colors, and in this case it's obviously black and white. I start with those first, and then I try to find the minimum variation of colors that work between the two extremes. Once I feel like I've gotten a good selection of color, I tend to strictly adhere to using only those colors. I refer to this as maximizing my color palette. I do this with the intention of incorporating other colors later in the process, but I find that minimizing the color choice and maximizing their potential not only makes teaching easier, but also following along. If I'm only using a few colors, it is a lot easier knowing which color I'm using. Personally, I think there are many more benefits to this particular method, but you can try it out and discover them for yourself. When it comes to coloring everything, I use all the colors, focusing mainly on getting the correct values. Because of the limitation of my palette, I know adjusting the colors will come later in the polishing stage. Getting the right values will always be more important than getting the right color. Now, if you happen to see my previous candlelight tutorial, then you know that in order to create the illusion of light, it is not the color of the flame, but everything surrounding it. And just like the previous tutorial, the light here is just pure white. After the hands are filled in, I get to work on the face. I started with filling in the dark shapes of the face using black. With those details established, I just apply several layers of my colors to build up the values of the face. I won't lie, this was much more difficult than I anticipated. I've done a lot of portraits, but never with a single light source from this angle. I gotta say, it's not the most flattering light for a nose. The other difficult parts of the face were the smile lines around the mouth. It was a challenge keeping them soft so I didn't age my subject. While working on them, I realized that I was making my highlights too bright. It felt wrong, but eventually I darkened my highlights, realizing they only appear bright because of all the surrounding darkness. After getting the face filled in, I moved down to the neck and shoulder area. This space should be a bit easier after the face for those of you that try this project for yourself. The important feature of this part is seamlessly blending the background into the subject. Now, whether or not you choose to use masking film for this project will determine how difficult this will be, but either way, it will really make or break the illusion that she is emerging from the dark environment. This is also where those toning colors I put into the background really come into play. Those subtle colors give off an aura around the subject, really emphasizing the glow of the light. This idea will come in handy when you're painting a night scene with a moon. You'd see this same effect around that light source also. So once I have all of my colors maximized, I decided to add 2 additional colors to my palette. I pretty much had the values where they needed to be, so I added an orange color and a purple color. The combination of which I really think made the painting look much more complete. I chose the dark purple to help the transitions between the dark shadows. The purple helps give the skin more life. Then I chose the orange color to add more range to the color diversity in the main skin tone. Because of the limitation, before adding the additional colors, the skin just lacked the complexity that makes it look natural, and the orange helped solve that. Alright everyone, here is the finished pastel painting. I hope you enjoyed this project and learned something along the way. Please give it a thumbs up and a share for me. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and if you want to learn even more from me, you can do that by joining me on Patreon, where you get to see these projects live every Tuesday and Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials just like this. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.